So the first thing I want to think us to think about is fluids. What do we do about the level of fluids in our bodies and how does that impact on our well-being? It's one of the simplest things that we can do for ourselves is think about what we drink, when we drink it, how much we need. I'm not one to be prescriptive about how much people need to drink every day. I think and I mean this about everything in this session, we are all individuals. And increasingly, what research is showing is that what is right for one person is not necessarily the same for another person. I do believe that some people need more fluids than others. And largely, your body will tell you about that and will if you listen to the signs, your body will tell you how much you need to drink. However, keeping hydrated, we know, is a really basic, fundamental need that we have to support our health. So, if nothing else that you take from this session, if you think you're somebody that doesn't drink enough, really work on drinking more and really noticing how that impacts on your health. And I've got a few tips about how to do that and why that might help. So, one of the first things that I've suggested to people time and again over many, many years is that when they get up in the morning, they drink up to a pint of warm water. And that seems like a lot, but actually, if you can get that done first thing in the morning, you are immediately on the road to hydrating your body well for the day. The reason that I suggest it's warm water is because there's evidence to show that if we drink really hot or really cold fluids, our body uses energy to bring it down to our body temperature or up to our body temperature. So drinking it warm is actually a lovely way to start the day and introduce your body gradually to getting going. And one of the other things that I love to suggest to people is that they put a good squeeze of lemon juice in their warm water. This is a very old-fashioned remedy, but people find it's really wonderful. And what that does is it actually triggers your whole digestive process, what we call the digestive cascade. So, lemon juice wakes up your liver and your digestive enzymes, and that helps us to get ready for the day. So, it's a wonderful thing to do. If you are worried about your teeth, so some people worry about drinking lemon juice with their teeth, although I think there's probably conflicting evidence about this now, about how much harm it might do your teeth. But if you do worry about it, just get one of those straws, either one of those metal straws or paper straws to do it with. And if you really, really don't like lemon juice, there are two things you could do. One would be to add a little bit of honey if you want to sweeten it a little bit, or the other thing is just to drink the warm water. So the second thing that I suggest to people is that drinking tea and coffee is okay in moderation if they like it and they find that it agrees with them. But for every caffeinated drink that you have, bear in mind that what caffeine does is it's slightly dehydrating. And so for every cup of caffeine that you have another glass of water to compensate. And when I say water, it doesn't actually have to be warm water or cold water or just water without any flavouring. So you can flavour your water with a herbal tea bag if you like that, or green tea or red bush tea or a cordial. Some people really need kind of an extra flavor, and I find that sometimes cordial is the only thing that really works for people. So I think it's fine to use cordial as long as it's fairly diluted. And again, lots of cordials you can use warm as well as cold. Another suggestion that I have is that you treat yourself to a really nice water bottle. And try and get one of those water bottles that takes cold things as well as hot things. And that will get you into the habit of having your water bottle around with you and carrying it around in your bag when you're out and about. And that will help you to drink more. And the last thing around drinks that I like to suggest to people that they find very helpful is to drink their fluids in between meals. And what this does is it reduces the load on your stomach in one go. So if we have a lot of fluid with a meal, it actually can make digestion harder. And it can even lead to heartburn and indigestion if that's something that you're prone to. So, for a lot of people, I suggest that they get into the habit of having their drinks in between meals. Okay, so the second fruit group that I want to suggest for you is stewed apples. So I'm a huge fan of encouraging people to cook apples, and I find that people will eat much larger amounts of apple if they actually stew it. So, what you can do is stew your own. So, wait till the apple season and then stew large amounts of apples in one go and then freeze it in batches. That would be the best way of doing it. When I'm talking about using apples, I'm actually suggesting that you use eating apples rather than cooking apples. Partly that's because they're more easily accessible throughout the year, and partly because you don't need to use sugar if you're using eating apples. They won't break down in the same way that cooking apples do, so you won't get that real puree that you get with cooking apples, but that's fine. It doesn't matter if you're happy for it to be chopped into lumps, and add a little bit of water when you're cooking it. The other things I suggest that you add to it are two spices, and you can add one or both of them. And one would be ginger and one would be cinnamon. Both of these spices are fantastically beneficial for your health. They help with digestion and they help with blood sugars. So ginger is another topic all on its own, but it has a lot of health benefits. And cinnamon really helps you to balance your blood sugars. So I would really recommend either one of these or both of them at the same time, and just put them in the cooking process. Like the berries, if you have a microwave, you can steam your apples rather than cooking them, and that's a perfectly acceptable way to prepare them. And then, as I said, freeze it in batches so that you've got a supply of it during the year. So why do I include cooked apples in the diet? So these are a wonderful way of balancing your digestion. Cooked apples will help with either constipation or diarrhea. So it will help to regulate your bowel function. It's a wonderful prebiotic. So again, it's that word that I'm going to come back to in a minute. Cooked apples can even help with IBS. So if you're getting a lot of problems with your digestion, consider having a portion of it every day. As I said before, it will help to balance your blood sugars. So again, a daily portion of this is going to really help with that, and it will improve your immunity. So have a go at your stewed apple and you won't regret it. So the next thing I want to move on to are a couple of different fruit groups. So I specifically emphasize some ideas around fruit because I find that a lot of people are very confident about eating large amounts of vegetables, but less confident or less liking having fruit in their diet. And one of the ways that with those groups of people, one of the ways that I've found that really help them to add larger amounts of fruit into their diet is to have these two different food groups. So the first ones I want to talk about are berries. And I'm particularly talking here about all the group of berries that are red or dark purple or even black. So that includes things like cherries, raspberries, strawberries, currants, red and black currants, blackberries, bilberries, if you live somewhere where you've got access to them, and blueberries, which most people have access to. Berries have been shown to have fantastically large amounts of what are called antioxidants in them, and these are plant chemicals that really help to enhance the health of our cells. So if you've heard about free radicals, what antioxidants do is they rid our bodies of free radicals. So these are cells that are not particularly healthy for us. So these dark berries really help to enhance our cells at a really basic level. They also, what that does is that then protects different areas of our body. So they really help to protect our circulation. And this is what I often call our microcirculation. So these are our little blood vessels that nourish things like our eyes and our kidneys and our internal organs. And these are very, very important parts of the circulation to work on to improve overall health. These berries are also antiviral, so they help to boost our immune system, particularly against viruses. And again, like the garlic, they're really good in certain areas for our blood and our circulation and our heart health. So they will help to lower blood pressure. They lower those levels of bad cholesterol that I was talking about before. And they do something extra. They actually control our blood sugar balance. So many of you will know that it's really important to try and get our blood sugars more balanced in our bodies for our general health. And that will help us to prevent things like type 2 diabetes, but it also helps with inflammation. These berries actually help with inflammation in the body. So an inflammatory process is something that can happen in all the tissues in the body, and berries will help to reduce that. And lastly, they even help to protect our nerves. So many of us will find that our nerves may get damaged by operations or disease processes. And we even know that certain levels of radiotherapy and chemotherapy can damage nerves. So anything that improves the health of our nerves and allows those nerves to regenerate is really important. So how do we include more berries in our diet? Well, to be honest, it couldn't be easier because supermarkets oblige by providing them in big frozen mixed bags. And that's probably the cheapest way of having it. So we all know that blueberries are really expensive if we buy them fresh, and they are really good for you fresh, but it's absolutely fine to use frozen berries. And if you have access to berries in the summer, you can freeze them yourself, and then you've got access to them in the winter. And then what I would suggest that you do is actually cook them. Don't cook them for a long time, but just lightly cook them. And you could either throw them into porridge when you're making some porridge for breakfast, or you can steam them in the microwave if you have one. And you could even, if you want to, put them into a juice or make them into a cordial. So all of those different ways are really good ideas for how to have berries, and particularly if you're not a big fruit person, actually making fruit juices, so making your own smoothie is a wonderful way of including a bit more fruit in your diet, and berries are one of the top fruits that you could include in that.